Jack Dorsey, the former head of Twitter, the founder of Twitter, made some very interesting comments this week about the algorithms and how the algorithms can't be controlled, that we're being programmed for our own destruction. This connects to everything I've been talking about on this show and everything that I was talking about at Roll Call on Saturday. When I made the comments about we're going to have to build a human algorithm, I was thinking about what Jack Dorsey is now complaining about, and I was thinking about how we've been programmed for a level of stupidity that is self-destructive. I'm going to connect Jack Dorsey to what's going on in the WNBA with this Kennedy Carter in the Chicago Sky and Caitlin Clark. Stick with me. I'm going to bring Cameron Brink into this. Stick with me. I'm going to cover it all, but we're going to use Jack Dorsey and these social media algorithms as the jumping off point on today's edition of Fearless. Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining me. We have an awesome show planned for you today. Let me not just inform you, the audience, but make sure my crew here working with me even understand what we're going to do today. I'm going to unpack quite a bit here about Jack Dorsey and the WNBA and social media and the algorithms. And then I'm going to bring Steve Kim into this conversation about the WNBA and about the Lakers' new coaching search, focusing on Dan Hurley. And that will be today's show. It'll be me, you, and Steve Kim and that discussion. If you stick with me and stick with me through tomorrow, Delano Squires and Shamika Michelle are going to join us for a Friday show. But before we do anything, I want to tell you guys how you can check out Roll Call 2.0 on Blaze TV. Go to blazetv.com/fearless. Use the promo code Fearless, and you can save $20 on your yearly subscription. And, you know, while you're there, make sure you're thanking our good friends at Good Ranchers. Thank them for today's show, because this show is brought to you by Good Ranchers. Use my promo code Fearless at goodranchers.com. And with your subscription, you can claim free bacon for life and support veterans this Father's Day. You guys know we love Good Ranchers. Good Ranchers loves us. Thank you so much. We got to show our support to Good Ranchers by supporting the people that support us and our worldview. All right, let's get to today's fire starter and today's show. I want to start by playing you a clip of Jack Dorsey. You guys remember Jack. He founded Twitter and then left 2 years ago, I guess, when Elon Musk took it over. Jack Dorsey's never been a guy I've thought much of or thought highly of. Some people kind of think Jack is harmless. You know, he's a tech guy, didn't know what he was all getting into, didn't know what he was setting off. I've never been a fan of Jack Dorsey, but he is starting to deal honestly with the ramifications of what Twitter and Northern California and Silicon Valley has unleashed on the planet. These algorithms, the algorithms that are programming us to think a certain way and behave a certain way and consume things a certain way. Let's play Jack Dorsey saying something here very profound that Elon Musk immediately came in and retweeted and shared with everybody and co-signed for what Jack Dorsey says here.
This is going to sound a little bit crazy, but I think the free speech debate is a complete distraction right now. I think the real debate should be about free will. And we feel it right now because we are being programmed. We're being programmed based on what we say we're interested in. And we are told through these discovery mechanisms what is interesting. And as we engage and interact with this content, the algorithm continues to build more and more of this bias. But the algorithm, even if it's open source, is effectively a black box. You cannot predict 100% of the time how it's going to work, what it's going to show you. And it can be moved and changed at any time. And because people become so dependent upon it, it's actually changing and impacting the agency we have, the free agency we have. And I think the only answer to this is not to work harder at open source in algorithms or making them more explainable about what they're doing and why they're doing it, but to give people choice. Give people choice of what algorithm they want to use from a party that they trust. Give people choice to build their own algorithm that they can plug in on top of these networks and see what they want, and they can shift them out as well. And give people choice to have really a marketplace around an algorithm that you can choose.
It's a very, very profound thing that he's saying. It's a very, very important thing that he's saying. It's long, long overdue that he say these things. But I have to give Jack Dorsey credit for acknowledging, and I'm translating what he said. You have to, you have your ears and eyes have to be very highly tuned to figure out exactly what he's saying. But he's saying, hey, we created Frankenstein. We thought that we were smarter than everybody else. We thought that we were going to use these algorithms and all the social media platforms to program a better American, to program a better human being. Again, social media, these algorithms from Google to Twitter to Instagram to Facebook to all of it, it's all a rig job. And people like Jack Dorsey, who's a tech guy that invented something, and then in my view, not trying to paint a sympathetic figure, but just an accurate one, I think outsiders came in and manipulated a Jack Dorsey, a Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not making these guys victims. They should have known what they were involved in. But they were convinced by powerful people, manipulative people, globalists. Hey, no, guys, your algorithms, we're going to make them a force for good. We're going to program the way people think, and it's all going to be so much better. And we're going to create better human beings with these algorithms. And one of the most powerful things that ever happened, and I've said this previously, it may have gone over people's heads, or they may have said, oh, that's just Jason. He's just homophobic, or he's just an idiot. He thinks he's smarter than what he actually is. But I've been telling you all for years, the reason why American culture turned on a dime on same-sex marriage, on acceptance and affirming LGBTQIA plus lifestyle, because social media programmed you to do that. There was such a penalty given to people that didn't hop on board with same-sex marriage and the whole LGBTQ movement and the whole transgender movement. There was such a social media penalty extracted on people that everybody just hopped on board. And again, I realized, hey, most people aren't on Twitter. Most people aren't on these social media apps. But the key tastemakers, the influencers are. And they forced us to change on a dime how we felt about same-sex marriage and the LGBTQ. You were penalized in the workforce and in the public square if you did not hop on board with all of it. And so Barack Obama and the powerful people figured out, like, wow, look at this matrix they've built. Look at what these algorithms out of Northern California, look what they've done. Look what they've accomplished. And remember, Obama was the first Facebook president or the first person that had mastered the matrix, and they went into the 2016 election with Trump so convinced that, oh, we got this whole thing figured out. We know how to manipulate everything on Facebook and on social media. We're going to shove Hillary Clinton down their throats. And Trump was the disruptor. Trump was something they hadn't planned on, and they just hadn't tweaked the algorithms enough to get the result that they wanted. And so Trump snuck in there. And then in 2020, they like, well, we're not going to leave it to the algorithms. We can't trust the algorithms fully, and so we're going to go above and beyond. But now they have reached the point where Jack Dorsey is willing to say, like, oh no, these algorithms, they build a bias. Talking about free speech is irrelevant. Because what he's saying is we can amplify the speech that we want to amplify. We can amplify the narrative, the agenda that we want to amplify, and your ability to speak freely becomes irrelevant. No one will hear you. Not in great mass, not in comparison. I've said it, and they're trying to walk it back. But there was no gayer place on earth than Twitter from about 2010 until 2022. It was gay heaven. Every other day, something about being gay or LGBTQ or trans, it was trending every single day as they forced this worldview down our throats. And so what he's saying, again, your free speech is irrelevant under this system we've built. You have no free will. You are being programmed by these algorithms every single day. And it doesn't matter whether the algorithms are transparent or not. This thing is out of control, where I blame Jack Dorsey and I blame them all. If some middle-aged fat dude that graduated from Ball State University with a 2.3 GPA, who spent most of his time at Ball State recovering from drinking too much, played a little football, was a basic idiot. If someone as dumb as me could figure out, like, hey, this is where this is headed, how come Jack Dorsey and Mark Zuckerberg couldn't? You know why they couldn't? Because it was raining money on them. It was raining power on them. It was raining popularity and influence. And they believed that they were God. They believed that they knew a better way than God. They believed that under their control, humanity would be better. Jack Dorsey's starting to figure out the fallacy of that. He's created a culture of lies. He's participated. I'm not blaming him single-handedly, and I'm giving him credit for trying to walk this back and trying to open people's eyes, but it may be too late. I want to give you the example. This is me in 2016, working at Fox Sports in 2016, telling everybody exactly where this entire thing was headed. The big dummy from Ball State that barely graduated from Ball State, never spent any real time in Silicon Valley. How could this big dummy see where this is headed and no one else could? Because free speech doesn't matter. Play the clip of me talking about Colin Kaepernick and cyberhumans. There's a deadly culture war being waged that isn't being discussed on Fox News, MSNBC, or CNN. Cyberhumans versus humans. People whose reality is shaped by the internet versus people whose reality is shaped by the real world. Right now, cyberhumans are crushing humans. It might be the most one-sided war in the history of the world. Cyberhumans live on 3 planets: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. They use Facebook to promote their delusional lifestyles. They visit Instagram for sex, and they use Twitter to control what all of us think. Twitter is their weapon of war. Cyberhumans control the media and celebrities, America's tastemakers, through Twitter. They bully us into buying into their false sense of reality with Twitter bots and thought police and lynch mobs. Twitter is why the media and celebrities believe police are indiscriminately killing large numbers of black men. Twitter is why Colin Kaepernick believes police brutality is a bigger threat to black men than mass incarceration and poverty. Twitter is why Kaepernick and his supporters think the best way to show that Black Lives Matters is by being publicly angry when a white police officer kills a black man unjustly and silent when a black man kills a black boy unjustly. Twitter is a cesspool of 140-character bigotry. It's the virus spreading racial division in the real world. Cyberhumans spend their lives locked in this virtual world, unable to see the humanity in their classmates, next-door neighbors, and co-workers, unwilling to accept that good people might disagree with them. They filter out flawed human beings and only let like-minded cyberhumans enter their smartphone reality. They avoid connecting, talking, and engaging in the real world in a real way. They duck their heads and stare at their phones. For cyberhumans, it's safer to tweet and text and snap. But is it safer for us, those of us who visit the cyber world but prefer living in the real one? That was me 70 pounds ago and 7 or 8 years ago. Just a big, dumb jock from Ball State University, just a dumb journalist who is telling you exactly where this whole thing is headed. Look at where we are today. How could I know it and Jack Dorsey and others not know it? Look where we are. And I gave you great examples in that old video. But let me just connect the dots to what we have going on in the news cycle right now in terms of how we've been programmed for racial division and for victimhood. Again, how is every human being basically in America in desperate pursuit of victim status? There's no higher level of humanity than being a victim. How did we get to where George Floyd is getting statues and powerful politicians are taking knees for George Floyd and thanking George Floyd for sacrificing his life in pursuit of victimhood? How did we get here? Everybody, athletes, again, great competitive athletes looking for their victimhood status. I want to give you a small example just from yesterday. You got this woman, Kennedy Carter, the basketball player that knocked over Caitlin Clark, the drama queens of the WNBA. It's on ESPN. And again, this is all part of the programming. None of us care that much about the WNBA. We care about Caitlin Clark. But they've promoted this victim deal so strong, and everybody's looking for their victim status. And Angel Reese, she's not getting the credit she deserves. She's turned the WNBA around. It's not just Caitlin Clark, it's racism. And now yesterday, they put out a story. Kennedy Carter, she was stalked, and we couldn't even get off the bus. And a man was harassing Kennedy Carter, and she's a victim. This is splashed on ESPN. The woman that knocked over Caitlin Clark on the basketball court gets asked a question by a guy with a camera. And ESPN is running it out there, and everybody over social media is acting like, oh my God, Kennedy Carter, she came within an inch of having her life taken from her by a stalker. She couldn't even get off the bus. Oh, thank God we have security. Oh, this is terrible. All this attention we ordered and wanted for the WNBA, now there's a guy with a phone camera who's asking us questions, and thank God we had security. And they went as far in the ESPN story. No, not in the ESPN story, but it's repeated in the ESPN story. But one of her teammates, Michelle Onyewer, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, is pretending like there were racial slurs, getting harassed at our hotels where we draw the line in the sand. And then interesting how the video posted was edited and doesn't include when he harassed our staff while calling us ghetto bitches and saying women's sports isn't SHIT. We are not about to normalize things like that. This woman's been programmed. Social media has corrupted her brain, and she thinks she can get away with being the next version of Jussie Smollett. She thinks there's no higher status than victimhood. And so she's made herself and her teammates, oh God, look what happened to us. Someone asked a question and they shouted racial slur. This is no different. Remember when I told you about the Utah basketball team during the women's NCAA tournament? They just wanted to switch hotels. They didn't like their hotel in Idaho and they wanted to be closer to the facility. So what did they do? They pretended that they were some victim of a racist attack. And the media hopped on board, social media hopped on board. Next thing you know, voila, they got a new hotel. We've been programmed by social media to promote racial division and look for victimhood in everything. And now we're looking at social media and the algorithms. Take a group of mostly lesbian, angry women in the WNBA, and they're being shoved down our throats that they're the most interesting people on the planet. Desperate drama queens of the WNBA. That's what we have going on virtually every day. Let me play you the video of this near-death experience that Chennedy Carter and the Chicago Sky went through. Play the video, this near-death experience.
Ms. Carter, have you got a chance to reach out to Caitlin?
Hey, man, come on with that.
Relax. Have you got a chance to reach out to Caitlin? Trinity, have you gotten a chance? The basketball world wants to know if you've gotten a chance to reach out to her.
Near-death experience. I don't even, how does she play? Will they be able to play tonight? I mean, after that, holy cow, could you believe that? Some man was asking her to comment if she's reached out to Caitlin Clark. And a security guard stepped in front of him. Oh my God, thank God security was there. And you're going to have people caping up and talking about this all off in this fantasy world, like something dramatic actually happened. This is what social media has done to us. It's destroyed the truth. It's destroyed honesty. It's destroyed people acting normal. It's destroyed people now live for the likes, the dopamine of, oh, I'm a victim. Don't you see me on the cross? Just open up X, open up Twitter. I'm hanging on the cross. There was a man with a cell phone camera asking me questions. And all of her teammates ran to Twitter and tweeted out, oh my God, we almost died. We couldn't even get off the bus. This white man was asking questions. Let's read Angel Reese. Go back. Let me read Angel Reese here, who loves to brag about being a college graduate, but refuses to show any proof that she actually went to college with her Twitter postings. Finding out our team's hotel to pull with a camera as we get off the bus and put it in my teammate's face and harass her is nasty work. This really is out of control and needs to stop. LSU should be embarrassed. But again, this is what we've accepted from athletes, men and women. They can be as retarded as they want to be over social media and no one say a word to them. They don't need to know what a period is, a comma. They don't need to know capital letters, nothing. They can be as ignorant as they want to be because they're tall and athletic. And we just look the other way. That's the other thing social media has done. It has dumbed us down incredibly. Here's Isabel Harrison. Wow. Thank God for security. My teammate being harassed at our hotel is insane. Couldn't even step off the bus. They've built a platform of lies. The Matrix, Twitter, social media. It's all built on lies and distortions. Jack Dorsey knows it. And now he's wondering, can anyone kill Frankenstein? This monster that we created, where it just lives on a cycle of racial division and the promotion of victimhood and oppressor versus the oppressed. He's now seeing the ramifications. I saw it 8 years ago, and I can barely open a laptop. I can text and tweet on my cell phone, and that's about it. I'm an idiot when it comes to tech. But I could see where this was going, and Jack Dorsey couldn't? The rest of you couldn't? You wonder why people are waking up every day on a manhunt for racial unfairness? It's because of social media. It gets rewarded. The algorithms reward it. They tell you what to like and not to like. They tell you what's important. You wonder why so many insignificant things are blown up and blown out of proportion. Hey, go look at this. This is what Jack Dorsey's talking about. Free speech is a distraction. It's a non-issue. They've built a system that does not care about free speech. It has no respect for free speech because it's like, free speech? Just won't amplify that. We'll just turn it down. It doesn't. Jason Whitlock, you can say whatever you want over Twitter. No one's going to see it. We're not going to let that grow. I'm not trying to promote myself as any sort of victim, but my social media feeds should be a test case for, they just play with it. Goes up 100, down 100, up 200, down 300, up to, it's been going on for like 2 years. Virtually none of my tweets have any of the reach that they used to have. They've built a machine that has no respect for free speech. It is all powerful. And Jack Dorsey's a creator of it, and now he's copying to what they've built. I don't know if it's a deathbed confession or what. They don't blame me. But he did this. They did this. And we wonder why so many stupid people are quoted as often as they are, centered as often as they are. I'm sorry, I got to go there. I know Cameron Brink, this 6'4", she was the second pick in the WNBA draft. She went to Stanford. She's quoted yesterday in an article, pull up the quote, she's been programmed by social media. She's been programmed by social media to have shame for her whiteness and to believe that she has some sort of special privilege based on her skin color that others don't have. Now, she does have athletic privilege. That's why she got to go to Stanford. She's 6'4". You know how few a percentage of women ever reach 6'4"? Who knows if she's really any good at basketball or not? She's 6'4". She almost has no choice but to be a basketball star of some sort. But this whole thing of like, oh my God, be ashamed of your whiteness and worship black women. That's what social media has programmed into her. I will acknowledge there's a privilege for the younger white players of the league. That's not always true, but there is a privilege that we have inherently, and the privilege of appearing feminine. Some of my teammates are more masculine. Some of my teammates go by they, them pronouns. I want to bring more acceptance to that and not just have people support us because of the way we look. I know I can feed into that because I like to dress feminine, but that's just me. I want everyone to be accepted, not just paid attention to because of how they look. This woman bending over backwards to kiss the butt of black women has now just taken a dump on black women. She has no idea, but she's been programmed into a level of stupidity that she doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know she's taking a dump on all black women. She basically just argued like, it's easier to look feminine when you're white. These black butch girls, they got it rough. That's what she said. That's what Jack Dorsey created. That's what Twitter, and I'm not singling him out, but that's what Mark Zuckerberg and Instagram and YouTube and Google, you don't have free speech. Your free will is under attack. Your mind is being manipulated in a way to make you fall into a lunacy and a level of delusion and dishonesty that is unhealthy for a civilized, organized culture, society. That's what I wanted to unpack. We'll bring in our buddy Steve Kim to talk a little bit more about the lunacy we're hearing from the WNBA and where it's coming from. We'll also talk a little bit about the Lakers and their pursuit of Dan Hurley. Before we do any of that, how many of you love puppies? They're so sweet and cuddly. What's not to love? But can you imagine pulling puppies out of their mother's womb? Oh, the outrage that would ensue. So why are puppies more protected than babies? PREBORN is the nation's leader in protecting the life of the unborn. By introducing babies to their mothers through ultrasound, a baby's chance at life more than doubles. That's why PREBORN and their network of clinics offer free ultrasounds to women with unplanned pregnancies in the highest abortion areas in the country. Through their good work, PREBORN rescues 200 babies every day, and they don't stop there. They are a ministry of compassion, loving women and babies, offering assistance for up to 2 years. If you consider yourself pro-life, it's time to help the good work at PREBORN. One ultrasound is just $28, and $140 helps rescue 5 babies' lives. Every baby deserves a chance at life. Please donate your best gift today just by dialing pound 250 and saying the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or visit preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless. Steve Kim, next.
Biggest thing for us right now as men is for us to understand that our communities right now look the way they look because of us. There's not one politician that we need to blame for the way our communities look. There's nobody that's going to help us fix our communities but ourselves. We are using politicians right now to cope with our inability to actually affect our own communities. Our communities are only going to be fixed by us. Joe Biden is not the reason that your community looks the way it looks. You are. And Trump is not going to come save our communities. We are. We have to fix our communities on our own. And I always say that every man should be responsible for at least one child that's not his. I believe if every man in this room were to go back to their communities and actually try and affect it, we'd actually make some changes in our areas. We'd actually make some changes for our country instead of blaming and giving money to politicians who keep promising the same old things over and over again, and we're expecting our communities to change.
Hey, you want the real truth on Dr. Anthony Fauci? The truth about all the lies that were told during COVID and Dr. Fauci's role in those lies? Man, The Blaze has a documentary series for you, The Fauci Cover-Up. So just go to FauciCoverup.com/Whitlock, use the promo code FauciLied to get $30 off your annual subscription to Blaze TV, and you can see The Cover-Up. It's an amazing documentary that exposes Anthony Fauci and all the lies that we were told during the COVID pandemic or COVID scandemic. That's FauciCoverup.com/Whitlock. Use the promo code FauciLied to get $30 off an annual subscription to Blaze TV, and you'll get to see The Cover-Up and the other great docuseries The Blaze is producing.
Yeah, 모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 reason that I'm back is to feed you raps and I see that you are 배불러 so fly.
Cosell, I got something I want to talk with you about. Two things, actually. And by the way, Cosell, I got to admit, the gray hair is starting to come in very nicely. You're making good progress. I may end up liking this. We may have to change your name to the Asian Al Davis. Didn't Al Davis have, jet white hair pulled back?
Well, he loved the silver and black, but I am now becoming the silver crouching tiger. So yes, it's like, look, my hair was like the 76ers like a decade ago. Didn't they do the process? It's been a process. It's coming in now, though. It's good. More weeks.
We're making progress. The process is making progress. Steve, what do you think about this Jussie Smollett, Bubba Wallace situation? Kennedy Carter had a near-death experience with a member of the paparazzi. I don't know how she survived that harrowing experience of someone with a cell phone shouting a question at her. What did you make of that?
You know, this is the WNBA version of Princess Diana. I mean, this was almost life-threatening here, right? I almost thought she lost her life. It's funny, when I read this thing in the beginning yesterday, I said to myself, you know what? I do have a little sympathy because I'm not a fan of the paparazzi. I don't think anyone is. They're a nuisance. They invade people's, I guess, public/private lives. I would hate to be in that fishbowl. But when I actually saw what happened, I mean, first of all, that guy out in front, is he the rebounding coach? He had pretty good form blocking that guy out. I didn't understand it. The WNBA for years has said we get no exposure. Nobody cares about us. Nobody covers us. They don't try to get to know us. And then, irony of irony, Jason, all of this begins to happen, and they hate it. So be careful what you wish for.
Steve, when I first heard the story, I'm telling you, I thought this is a bogus BS story. There's no harassment here. I knew it was an exaggerated story. It reminds me. Remember when Brittany Griner and Alex Stein tried to ask her questions at the airport, and they turned that in. This is why we have to fly private. Oh my God! People are asking us questions at the airport. That was bogus. It's always an agenda with these guys, and they're always chasing victimhood status. I'm trying to get into the WNBA. They're making it nearly impossible. I don't like any of them. They're unlikable.
Jason, what did I tell you a couple days ago? The whole WNBA industry or culture or society, whatever you want to call it, the ecosystem, from the players to the coaches to the assistants to the announcers to the journalists to the fans to the Twitter sphere, they're the most unlikable lot, and they basically repel other fans. And I don't know how long you're going to keep up this charade of pretending to care about the WNBA. I think you need to come clean, Whitlock, okay? Just say you're a Caitlin Clark fan and just watch anything and everything with her and then ignore everything else. I think your experience, I'm being dead serious about this, would be much more positive and it would be refreshing, because to deal with all this other stuff, Jason, you're a better man than I.
Well, the only games I watch are Caitlin Clark games. But all of this conversation, everything is about Caitlin Clark. You know, this Kennedy Carter, all of it. The only reason why she's on my radar is because of Caitlin Clark. They've figured out, hey, have an incident with Caitlin Clark, and you too, you might be the next Angel Reese. Yeah. You might build a brand off of having some kind of conflict with Caitlin Clark. All I watch is Caitlin Clark games, but it's just like the rest of the conversation And the other thing, I said this yesterday or the day before, I believe Caitlin Clark's own teammates on the Indiana Fever, they're in on it, trying to break Caitlin Clark. So if you take a dose of Caitlin Clark, exposes you to the rest of the league, and I find the rest of the league just unwatchable and unlikable.
You know, I'm only going to draw this comparison, and it has nothing to do with skin color. Trust me, it's just a coincidence. But Caitlin Clark is basically Eminem, Marshall Mathers of this whole league, and everyone else is trying to be Benzino. It's the WN Benzino. Everyone's trying to, you're right, everyone is trying to do this fake conflict or what they call beef and be at war with them. And then they get their Andy Warhol 15 minutes. And then it turns out with old Kennedy, she doesn't even want the 15 minutes. She finds out there's a drawback that a single guy with a cell phone camera is going to chase you down like you're Kanye West out on the sidewalk. And, you know, it's interesting when they talk about, like, the way they described this happening yesterday, I almost had visions, and they showed this a lot in The Last Dance, Jason, that me and you watched religiously, that wherever the Chicago Bulls and the Michael Jordan Traveling Roadshow went, every hotel was just packed. Remember? They had to have security. The buses had to be kind of cordoned off, and like the players had to rush into their rooms, and they had their keys waiting for them. Jason, can we be honest? It can be motel, hotel, Holiday Inn. Nobody's waiting for these W except Caitlin Clark. See, that's the funniest thing, though. Outside of her, nobody else really needs security surrounding them.
Well, but again, if you put yourself into the Caitlin Clark narrative the way that Kennedy did, now all of a sudden people do want to ask you questions about Caitlin Clark, and that's what they're really upset about. No one cares about Kennedy or Kennedy. No one cares really about Angel Reese or the Chicago Sky. And so it just fuels their anger that they're getting questions about Caitlin Clark. Well, Kennedy, leave her alone. Don't do anything dirty on the court, and no one will ask you questions, and there won't be a guy with a cell phone shouting questions for you off the bus. But I'm this whole victim, and oh my God, we almost
Jason,
died.
Can I bring something up?
White man, ask us questions. Go ahead.
Because we're talking about victimhood. I will say this, and I know she did not get much of an off season based on the way her season ended and then the quick turnaround to the draft in the season. Caitlin Clark herself needs to toughen up, though. She does. Her body language, and she needs to build up her body. She needs to hit that Bowflex, maybe get the Thigh Master, and hit the Joe Weider protein bars. She needs, because she looks frail. I don't expect her to be built like prime Scottie Pippen, but even her body, by the WNBA standards, she looks a little bit lean. She looks a little bit too much like olive oil. And this offseason has to be dedicated to building up her body. Okay? And I'll never forget, one of my favorite Michael Jordan stories from The Last Dance was when they lost to the Bulls, I believe, in either one of those Eastern Conference championships. That very next day, when he was devastated, he called Tim Grover and said, Tim, we're getting to work tomorrow. And he built up his body and his mind. So part of this, again, we want to talk about the lack of victimhood that we want to push. Caitlin Clark herself, she has to get mentally and physically stronger and tougher. Some of this is on her, Jason.
Totally agree with you that in order to be the best basketball player, she's going to have to reduce the baby fat and add a layer of muscle. I think that would help her to reduce the turnovers. She's getting overpowered to some degree. However, my advice to Caitlin Clark remains the same. Retire. It's not worth it. Move on. It's not worth it. Retire.
You know what I would do?
It's just not worth it. Yeah.
I would take a sabbatical. So you're saying retiring. You know what? Do a boxing retirement. Change your mind. Like let these fine, lovely ladies ride the Greyhound, fight their way onto Spirit Airlines and Frontier, and then next year at this time, just have a question. We good? We good? You can do this or you can do that. Want to play some clean basketball? Because, you know, this whole note, Jason, I wanted to mention this about the Michael Jordan freeze-out everyone talks about. And I believe that was the 85 All-Star game his rookie year. I think it happened in Indianapolis. You probably remember it well. The freeze-out really wasn't that bad. I've seen videos of the game. I've seen studies of it. They make it sound like Michael Jordan was completely frozen out. I don't think he was fed the ball as much as he would be in following subsequent All-Star game appearances. But to compare what's going on now to the physical assaults that are taking on almost this targeting, and I still remember Michael Jordan, what really caused some of the veterans to roll their eyes, and there was jealousy, okay, with Dr. J, Magic Bird. In the slam dunk contest, if you remember, Michael was the only guy that didn't wear his uniform. He actually wore Jordan brand gear. He wore the sweatsuit. He wore a Jordan brand shirt. And get this, he had the Mr. T starter set on. It's the only time I've ever seen him with jewelry. And it was like, wow, he's wearing his own gear. He's branded up. And everyone's like, what am I doing? And because that was the era, Jason, when all the players, a lot of them were with Converse. And they had this group commercial where they all had a rhyme. For post moves that never fail, the weapons are the choice of Kevin McHale. I can't believe I remember that. I'm ashamed of myself, but I remember that commercial at Bernard King, Magic, Isaiah, Larry Bird. And I think the other guy said, well, wait a minute. But you know what's funny, though? They had a better understanding, Jason, in my view, that as much as we may not like it, a rising tide lifts all vessels. And what's happening in the WNBA is they want to make Caitlin Clark the Titanic. That's a damn shame.
If you like today's show, you're going to love the merchandise we have for the show. Go to shopblazemedia.com today, and you can check out everything from our Fearless Army t-shirts, hats, and dog tags to our God, Country, and Truth Bomb shirts, and a whole lot more. And of course, there's all the other Blaze Media merchandise right there at your fingertips. Everything from the Blaze Heritage and Blaze Media collections. Jackets, t-shirts, hoodies, socks, mugs. There's so much there you're going to love. Go to shopblazemedia.com today. Check out my merchandise as well as everything else available from Blaze Media. And be sure to use my promo code JASON10 to get 10% off your entire order. That's shopblazemedia.com, promo code JASON10 for 10% off. Do it today. Call it crabs in the barrel, and we're seeing a beautiful example of it in the WNBA. Steve, out in your world, Los Angeles, it appears the Lakers have pivoted. They're off of J.J. Redick and now are pursuing the best basketball coach in college basketball, Dan Hurley, according to all reports. What do you make of this?
Jason, as a Laker fan in recess, I approve of this move because if we're going to go with an unproven NBA commodity, and just call me nuts, okay, I would rather have the guy with the 2 national championships rather than a podcast, okay? But that's just my opinion. I know certain people may disagree, but the thing I like about Dan Hurley is his ability to evolve, which he did about 3-4 years ago with his style. And this is important. If you know anything about his family, certainly his brother, a legendary player, and he's in the college coaching ranks, but his father, who was a legend in New Jersey, ran a great program, and he helped raise a lot of men. I like the fact he has coaching DNA in his blood. I think that's important. But the question is, Jason, and I'm going to ask you this, do you think a college coach can actually coach LeBron James hard at this stage?
I think that the Lakers, we got a fly.
Are you fanning yourself?
It's driving me crazy. I know I got this expensive fly swatter. But
okay.
I think it may be a sign that LeBron's not the priority moving forward. That this is a move. Perhaps it's a sign of that. There are reports that LeBron's on board with Dan Hurley, and maybe it's a sign that LeBron wants his son on the team and wants him properly coached by Dan Hurley. Maybe that's what this is about. I don't know, but if I'm Dan Hurley, I'm not. I know how frustrating college athletics are right now, but I don't know if I hop on this Lakers bandwagon. I don't know.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Okay, going with your statement, he wants him coached by Dan Hurley. Okay, well, he hit the transfer portal. Have him go to UConn. I mean,
wouldn't touch it at UConn. Not good enough to play at UConn.
Well,
good enough to play for the Lakers, though.
Right. So when Bronny is on the Lakers as the modern day Chuck Nevitt or Larry Spriggs, and all you Laker fans of the 80s, you know who I'm talking about, right? Those were the 12th guys that we used to call the human victory cigars. When they came in the game, like Mike Smrek, we knew we were on top. It was a great day for Chick Hearn. He put the games in the refrigerator. Here's the thing. At that point, if Bron just sits on the bench for months at a time and anyone questions him, whether it's the son or the father, literally Danny Hurley can say, hey, guys, I don't want to be disrespectful. I literally coached about 10 guys better than you last year at UConn. You would not have made the rotation for this. In fact, you didn't make the rotation for a USC team that basically got its coach fired. I still think that there's an issue is, does the LeBron tail wag the Lakers dog? And I get the sense that it does, but at least, just my opinion, Jason, this seems like the more adult professional move.
It's certainly an adult professional move. I do get why Dan Hurley would make it, because there's more stability in the NBA roster-wise than even in college basketball. I wonder if Dan Hurley's interested. I'm surprised they didn't reach out to Jay Wright, but maybe Jay Wright wants nothing to do with LA. Maybe he really doesn't want to coach anymore. But this is a fascinating move. If I had to bet, I think LeBron's on board with this. But I wonder if Dan Hurley's on board with embracing all that pressure to win right now. And you know what? We're going to use one of our draft picks on a kid who can't play, who I wouldn't even recruit to UConn. But we shall see. Steve, thank you so much. Great job. Love the way your hair is coming along. We'll see you next week. That's Steve Kim, the Korean Cosell. Play tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want